How confident are you of your choices and decisions and why you act in a certain way in different situations? How well do you really know yourself? In this video series, I'm going to give you an insight into the inner workings of your mind by taking you through some of the most important theories presented by renowned economist, psychologist, and author Daniel Kahneman in his book Thinking Fast and Slow. Much of the discussion in this book is about the biases of intuition. In other words, how and why we think in the ways that we do. Now, instead of me just throwing a bunch of random words and concepts at you, like you're not going to do that anyway, man, I'm going to blend Kahneman's theories into a typical person's day-to-day activities like waking up, going to work, etc. Ooh, something different. Oh my god! The crux of Kahneman's work is that our brain has an involuntary, automatic, and intuitive side, which he calls System 1, and a voluntary, effortful, and complex thinking side, which he calls System 2. System 1 operates automatically and quickly, with little or no effort. Activities like waking up, brushing our teeth, even driving to work happen intuitively without requiring much thinking effort from the brain. On the other hand, when something new or out of the ordinary happens, that is when System 2 is brought into play. System 2 allocates attention to the effortful mental activities that demand it. Both Systems 1 and 2 are constantly active when we are awake. The difference is that System 1 runs automatically, whereas System 2 is normally in a comfortable, low effort mode where only a fraction of its capacity is engaged. System 2 is also credited with the continuous monitoring of your own behavior, the control that keeps you polite when you are angry and alert when you are driving at night. Woman found dead in the middle of the night in surprising circumstances. Two main suspects, one, her grieving husband, and the second, a small-time thief of the area with another pending charge for assault. Surely it must be the thief. Base rate neglect is a very common phenomenon whereby we ignore relevant statistical information in favor of case-specific information. Statistics convincingly tell us that in cases such as these, the victim's spouse is the most likely culprit. However, that statistical fact almost does not come to your mind when you first consider the question. What you saw, the husband's character description as a grieving husband and the thief's description as someone with a pending charge for assault, was all there was. On a related but separate point, a correct baseline prediction should be the anchor for further adjustments when you are asked an abstract question. For example, if you are asked to guess the height of a woman about whom you only know that she lives in New York City, your baseline prediction is your best guess of the average height of women in New York City. Isn't that kind of obvious? Surprisingly not, you'd be more likely to anchor or base your judgment to a scene from a movie that you remember where the actress lives in New York, or if you have a friend or family member who lives in New York, your best guess of the average height of women in New York City is likely to be anchored or based around the height of this family member. More on anchoring later. Wow, actor loses 10 kilos in 2 months. He must really have a lot of discipline and commitment. I bet he'd make for a great entrepreneur too if he were to ever start a business. The tendency to like or dislike everything about a person, including things that you have not yet observed, is known as the halo effect. Thereby, intuitively, the halo effect increases the weight of first impressions. Indian student dies in Texas. God, it's become dangerous to send your kids to university abroad. Estimates of causes of death are warped by media coverage.
The media do not just shape what the public is interested in, they are also shaped by it. In particular, the importance of an idea is often judged by the fluency and emotional charge with which that idea comes to our mind. And in turn, the fluency of an idea coming into our mind is often affected by the content that we consume. Low probability events are also given much more weight when described in terms of relative frequencies, in other words, how many of something there are, compared to when they are described in terms of chances, risk, or probability. In other words, how likely is it that something like that will happen? Your brain has a tendency to neglect the denominator. In other words, following from our example, the total number of students in the US when looking at an article that talks about a student dying in Texas. The probability of a rare event will often, not always, be overestimated because of the confirmatory bias of memory. In essence, your brain is more tuned towards remembering things that happen rarely as opposed to things that are quite normal and happen on a daily basis. A rare event will be overweighted if it specifically attracts attention. For example, if you are presented an offer where there's a 99% chance that you'll end up winning $1 million, but a 1% chance that you'll end up winning nothing, you will overweigh the significance of that 1% and it'll play on your mind until the outcome of the offer is revealed.
What? The road ahead is blocked, but this way is never blocked. God, I'm running late. Damn it, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Most effortful forms of slow thinking are the ones that require you to think fast.
We should have just taken the other route from the beginning.
Hindsight bias has very harmful effects on the evaluations of decision makers. It leads observers to assess the quality of a decision not by whether the process was sound, but by whether the outcome was good or bad. Hindsight bias is especially unkind to decision makers who act as agents for others, politicians, financial advisors, CEOs, etc. There is a clear outcome bias. Although hindsight and the outcome bias generally foster risk aversion, they also bring undeserved rewards to irresponsible risk seekers, such as a general or an entrepreneur who took a crazy gamble and won.